It began on a night that tore the sky apart. Thunder rolled across the Texas plains like the echo of old cannons, shaking the earth beneath the forgotten barbed wire of an abandoned World War II camp. When the storm finally broke, rain carved deep scars into the soil, exposing relics that had not seen the light of day in nearly 80 years. Among the twisted metal and shattered wood, locals stumbled upon something strange. A small trench collapse, and within it, a rusted dog collar, buried beneath years of silence. The name on it was faint, but still visible: Rex. No one knew what to make of it, but for those who lived nearby, the discovery stirred something long buried. Memories, rumors, and a mystery that had refused to die. The old Hereford POW camp had always been a place of whispers, but after that storm, it became something else. A wound reopened, and a ghost story resurrected. During World War II, Texas was home to over 70 prisoner-of-war camps, scattered like quiet shadows across the state's vast plains. The Hereford camp was among the largest, housing thousands of captured German soldiers, men plucked from the battlefields of North Africa and Europe and dropped into a strange, dry land halfway across the world. To the Americans, it was simply another military outpost. But to the prisoners it became a small, self-contained world of routine and longing. The desert sun punished them by day, but the loneliness was worse at night. And amid that monotony, a small creature appeared, a shepherd mix with one torn ear and bright, intelligent eyes. He had wandered in from the hills, drawn by the smell of food and the sounds of men who missed home. They called him Rex, though some said he already had that name when he arrived. Whatever the truth, the dog quickly became the soul of the camp. Rex belonged to no one, yet everyone claimed him. He slept beside the guards' quarters one night, and the next he'd curl up beside German prisoners under the wooden barracks. He followed the men to their work details, wagging his tail as they cut wood or repaired fences. Letters sent home to Germany often mentioned him, a small friend who does not care about uniforms or flags. For the guards, Rex was a mascot, a distraction from the monotony of duty. For the prisoners, he was a reminder of the humanity they feared they had lost. But it wasn't just his loyalty that captured them. It was the way he watched, as if he understood far more than any animal should. And that watchfulness would soon become the center of a story no one wanted to believe. The summer of 1945 was unbearably hot. Days stretched endlessly beneath a sun that turned the sand to glass and the air to dust. One night, as lightning flickered in the distance, Rex began to behave strangely. Witnesses later said he was restless, pacing near the latrines, growling at the ground, sniffing one particular corner of the yard again and again. Guards shouted at him to be quiet, but the dog wouldn't stop. He scratched furiously at the dirt, whining as though something beneath the earth called to him. By dawn, the guards found a shallow hole, half filled with disturbed soil and bits of wood. That same morning, Rex was gone. No one saw him leave. He simply vanished. At first, the disappearance seemed trivial. The guards assumed the dog had chased a coyote into the hills, but when days turned into weeks with no sign of him, the camp grew uneasy. The prisoners, many of whom had cared for Rex since his arrival, began whispering that something was wrong. Some said they heard yelping that night, cut off abruptly. Others swore they saw soldiers digging near the fence long after midnight, their lanterns flickering in the dark. A rumor spread that Rex had unearthed something the Americans didn't want found. Whatever it was, the next morning, the area had been leveled and covered with fresh dirt, and no one ever saw Rex again. Years later, fragments of a German prisoner's diary surfaced in a family archive in Bremen. The entries, dated July 1945, described a disturbance in the camp, a missing animal, secret searches, and late-night interrogations. One chilling line stood out. He found what they silenced him before sunrise. No one knows who they were, Guards, officers, or someone else entirely. The diary mentioned that a small trench behind the mess hall had been refilled that same morning. Military logs from that date were later found to be missing 2 entire pages. The event was never reported in official documents, and all references to Rex vanished from the camp's roster. It was as if the dog, and the night he disappeared, had been erased on purpose. By early 1946, the camp began shutting down as prisoners were repatriated to Europe. The barracks were emptied, fences torn down, and the wind reclaimed what had once been guarded land. But those who had lived there carried strange stories back across the ocean, stories of a dog who had seen something no man was meant to find. For decades, the Hereford site lay abandoned. Farmers who plowed near the area claimed their equipment sometimes unearthed bits of old uniforms, buttons, or rusted ammunition, and every few years someone claimed to hear barking echoing through the fields on stormy nights. Local papers dismissed it as folklore, a ghost story for a quiet town, until, of course, the storm of 1982. The storm of 1982 tore through Hereford like a living thing. Flash floods ripped open parts of the old POW site, washing away decades of packed soil. When the waters receded, a farmer found something caught in the roots of a mesquite tree, a corroded metal box. Inside was a leather collar, cracked and dry, stamped faintly with the name Rex. There were also a few photographs, black and white prints showing prisoners smiling beside a dog. In one image, Rex's left eye was missing, replaced by a small scar. Behind him, a dark mound of earth could be seen, with a wooden plank jutting from it like a marker. The back of the photo was dated July 1945. No one knew it then, but that single discovery would reopen one of Texas's strangest wartime mysteries. In the early 2000s, historian Clara Whitmore began researching the Hereford camp for a university paper. While cross-referencing German and American archives, she noticed something unsettling. 5 prisoners listed as alive in German records never appeared in the American release manifests. They weren't recorded as dead, missing, or transferred. They were simply gone. Whitmore also uncovered reports of unauthorized night patrols and soil movement behind the mess hall. During the same week, Rex disappeared. In her notes, she wrote, 5 men vanish. A dog goes missing. A box buried behind Block C. Are these things connected? When she contacted surviving guards, none agreed to speak on record. One former officer sent her a short letter before dying in 2005. He was just a dog, but he found something we couldn't explain. It was signed only with the initial R. When the collar found in 1982 was examined under UV light, a shocking detail emerged. Faint lines, ink faded by decades, traced a pattern on the inner leather. It was not decoration. It was a map, and it matched the layout of the Hereford camp precisely, with one small area marked by an X. That area corresponded exactly to the latrine trench where Rex had been seen digging before he vanished. Ground-penetrating radar revealed hollow cavities beneath that spot. Not random holes, but structured tunnels. Some extended beneath the officers' quarters, others toward the fence line. They weren't part of the camp's construction plans. Someone had built them in secret. Archaeologists investigating the site found wooden supports made from repurposed food crates, stamped U.S. Army property. The tunnels were narrow, hand-dug, and still reeked faintly of oil and damp clay. Inside were fragments of boots, a rusted canteen, and a broken chain, small enough to have belonged to a dog. Scratched into the walls were strange markings, initials, dates, and one phrase repeated several times in German. Rex wacht noch. Rex still watches. At the end of one tunnel, a wooden barrier blocked further passage. The team debated opening it, but when they returned the next day, the barrier had collapsed, and the cavity had filled with water. They sealed the area for safety, but rumors spread quickly. Some said the archaeologists had found bones. Others claimed they'd found something else entirely. In 2011, another storm struck Hereford, stronger than before. Lightning tore open the soil where the tunnels once ran, exposing part of the wooden barrier. When locals investigated, they discovered a partial skeleton inside, unmistakably that of a dog. It was curled protectively around a small wooden crate. Most of the contents had disintegrated, but fragments of paper and cloth remained. German handwriting could still be read on one strip, Verschwiegenheit, silence. Authorities collected the remains, but the crate's contents were never made public. What was so dangerous about what a dog uncovered that it still needed to be hidden 70 years later? No one has ever answered that question. Shortly after the 2011 discovery, federal agents arrived at the Hereford site. The entire area was fenced off within days. Local officials were told to classify the excavation as routine soil stabilization. Whitmore, who had continued her research into the case, was suddenly denied access to military archives. Her research notes disappeared from the university's servers without explanation. When questioned, a retired Army engineer said quietly, "Some things were buried for a reason. Even the dog knew to guard them." After that, he refused further comment. To this day, no one knows what the box beneath Rex contained, or why its secret warranted decades of silence. The Hereford site is quiet now, reclaimed by grass and wind, but locals still talk about it in hushed tones. Children who wander too close claim they hear soft barking carried on the breeze. Old ranchers say that when lightning flashes, you can sometimes see a shadow of a dog standing at the fence, staring toward the horizon. For them, Rex isn't just a ghost, he's a guardian, a creature who refused to abandon what he found, even in death. Whether he guarded a secret, a grave, or a truth buried in shame, no one can say. But his story endures, woven into the soil of Texas itself. Every few years a storm returns to Hereford, as if the land itself cannot rest. Each time it exposes something, a fragment of metal, a buckle, a shard of glass, pieces of a forgotten war that still whispers beneath the prairie. Perhaps the dog's bones are at peace now, but the question he left behind is not. What did he uncover in that cursed trench? Was it the remains of missing prisoners, secret experiments, or something far darker, something no government dared acknowledge? We may never know, but sometimes the wind carries a sound through the ruins, faint, rhythmic, and loyal, a bark echoing across time. History doesn't vanish, it gets buried. Subscribe for more Forgotten Frontiers.